Hey everyone, this is Dr. Chris of the Radio of Horror, 91.3 FM, WCW, and my next Supernatural video, the Supernatural Overview, where we cover season 7 and 8, the further decline of the show, unfortunately. I'll be honest with you, I talk with enough people, and they don't favor seasons, like half of season 6, a lot of people still love, because it's like the epilogue of what should have been the final season. But then season 7 and 8 definitely on a decline. I mean, Cass isn't even in most of season 7. The death of Bobby, for anyone who's listening to this, you should know by now Bobby died in season 7. Things like that. And then season 8 was just kind of hit or miss. Season 7. Okay, here we go. That was kind of the joke from season 6, the very meta episode. So season 7, Castiel has basically absorbed all of the souls of purgatory inside him, and he's declared himself a god. And Dean and Sam trying to get the help of the Horsemen of Death to stop Cass, and Cass ends up dying, and the Leviathans end up escaping, and the Leviathans are like the first beast created by God Almighty. And they were too destructive, so we were locked away in purgatory. And they're nicknamed the Big Mouth through the entire rest of the show. And their leader is Dick Roman, who is this kind of like major douchebag, as Dean would put it. The other problem they're dealing with is that Castiel unlocked the chains in Sam's head, so like all of the memories of hell that he suffered from when he was trapped in hell from between seasons 5 and 6 are making him freak out and believe he's seeing Lucifer every 5 minutes, and played by that great actor Mark. While Sam and Dean are trying to get information on Dick Roman, they have to lose Baby, and their identities are exposed. Basically, Dick Roman creates like clones of them, and they go on a killing spree, and they have to shelve Baby. And this is what a lot of fans really hated: is when Baby had to go away, and Sam and Dean are running around in crappy cars. Sam and Dean end up having to team up with Megan Crowley and here and there, and they find out Cass is still alive. He's come back, and he helps cure Sam and goes a little crazy. Meg takes care of him, and they come up with an idea with the help of the prophet Kevin Tran to stop the Leviathans and their leader. When Bobby dies, we're introduced to the character named Garth, we're introduced to the character Garth Fitzgerald IV, who had been mentioned a couple times, and he's played by DJ Qualls. And he kind of becomes like the new Bobby a little later on. In the episode that we're introduced him to, they have to fight a ghost that he can only fight when drunk. It's like a Japanese ghost, literally, that you can only see when drunk. It's really cool, and it's one of the better episodes of the show. The Japanese ghost is called a shoujo. It's an actual ghost from Japanese mythology, lore, legendary creature from Japan. A shoujo is said to be from a realm where there's lots of alcohol. There's lore saying that back in the old day, if you were plastered enough, you could see one skulking around in between breweries in Japan. And this is Sam reading from a book about a shoujo, which is really cool. It's one of the cooler villains because they don't do a lot of international villains kind of like this. They do, but they don't do a lot from Japan. Sorry, that's what I meant. Dean also ends up having to tangle with the god of time, and he ends up in 1944 meeting the one and only Elliot Ness, which is really cool. The character of Elliot Ness is played by Nicholas Lea, who you might know from the X-Files, which is really cool. And of course, we also get Jody Mills comes back as well, which is really, really awesome. It's always nice to see Jody Mills. And she helps Sam and Dean out in a case. Another funny episode is Plucky Pennywhistle's Magical Menagerie, where we explore a little bit more about Sam's fear of clowns, which is fantastic. We also have the introduction of Charlie, played by Felicia Day, in the episode The Girl with the Dungeons and Dragons Tattoo, which I kind of stole that name of that episode for a chapter in my vampire book. With the help of Megan Crowley, they're able to defeat Dick Roman. There's not a lot of great highlights in this episode for me, I think. The season ends with Sam stranded alone and Dick, Castiel, and Dean getting sucked into purgatory, and Dean's kind of left by himself, and then that's how the season ends. Some of the music we get for season 7, which is always great because you gotta love the music of Supernatural. We get a Slow Ride by Fog Hat. These boots were made for walking by Nancy Sinatra. We get Carry On My Wayward Son by Kansas. We get Chaos by Lazy Stars, Disparate Youth by Santa Gold, Bad Moon Rising, Swan's Theme by Tarkovsky, Start Me Laughing by Dead Confederate, and many other great, great songs. Then, of course, we open up with Season 8, and Season 8 takes place a year later. Dean has escaped from purgatory with the help of a vampire who basically is kind of useless the whole show. I mean, he's got a couple appearances here and there, but they honestly don't do very much with his character. I really feel like it was just kind of a missed opportunity for a new recurring character that they don't really do anything with, which is really unfortunate. Benny the Vampire is played by Ty Olson. And now that Sam and Dean are reunited, they need to find the Word of God, which is a tablet that Crowley has, and it can basically lock the gates of hell. And there's another tablet that can lock up the gates of heaven as well. Cass, of course, also eventually returns too. Dean just finds him wandering on the side of the road. He says, Cass didn't make it, and then Cass gives up and sends Dean through the portal. But then Cass just shows up, and just no explanation. And all these explanations of how Cass keeps surviving, like the Leviathan being exploded and coming back together and being destroyed by his brother, Lucifer, in Season 5, and so on and so forth. Eventually, you kind of get the realization that God actually kind of favors Castiel, and you find that out in Season 11, when we finally meet God. Charlie also returns, played by Felicia Day. Charlie is now the queen of a LARPing group, and they end up meeting a real fairy. Charlie was a hacker for Dick Roman, and that's why Sam and Dean met her in the previous season. She was working for Dick Roman, and they revealed to Charlie that there is some horrible things going on. Charlie is a lesbian too, so there's a great scene where she is making out with the fairy. She tells Dean that you just cock-blocked me from getting it with the fairy, which is her a big fantasy of hers, because she's a big LARPer fantasy person, loves Lord of the Rings and all that type of stuff. And Felicia Day is fantastic in the role as Charlie. You gotta love her. She returns subsequent episodes later on as well. There's a great episode with her mother. We find out some of her tragic backstory, which is really too. It's really touching and has an emotional impact compared to the last couple episodes that Charlie's in, especially the first one with all the LARPing group. And Dean has a big rousing speech like Mel Gibson has in Braveheart, which is really funny. And Charlie points that out to Sam, and he's just just go with it. It's the only thing he remembers. It's one of the best episodes of Season 8. Season 8 doesn't have a lot of great highlights. That is definitely one of them. Sam, I want to point out what he was doing for the year while Dean and Cass were in purgatory, hanging out with Benji the vampire. He hit a dog and fell in love with a woman who believed she had lost her husband in Iraq. And then her husband comes back, and Sam gives up on her to move on. That's it. It's the dumbest plot line. They could have just said Sam was continuing to hunt. Maybe he started a farm. This just stupid little plot line where he finds somebody. He hits a dog. Everyone hated it. I don't know too many people where they were just like, oh, that was the best thing for Sam because he moved on. Oh my God, that was so dumb. Oh, it was so bad. And Dean hates him because he completely gave up on trying Kevin. And then of course we meet Kevin's mom too, and Dean points out how hot his mom is. Damn, your mom's really hot, Kevin. And Kevin's like, ah. Big thing about Season 8 that I want to point out is they introduce a powerful demon named Abaddon, who is a knight of hell and one of the oldest and most powerful demons out there. And they meet their grandfather, Henry Winchester, who is John Winchester's father, who disappeared when he was a boy. And John grew up without a dad. And he talks to Sam and Dean about how hunters are kind of like barbarians, and they should have been men of letters. They don't know what men of letters are. And he reveals to them that the men of letters are collectors of information on the supernatural and trust very few hunters to handle the most powerful monsters. They go to a bunker, and there's a men of letters bunker where they have all these artifacts. And since Bobby's place was destroyed in Season 7, they don't really have a place to stay anymore. So from here through the upcoming 12th season, the Metal Letters bunker becomes their home, and it's become like this great setting for the show because it's like this impenetrable fortress for good. It's really really cool. It's been one of my favorite parts of the show. They also get to meet the Metatron angel, who is the scribe of God, and this is one of the worst characters of the show. He's played by Curtis Armstrong, best known as Booger from the Revenge of the Nerds movies. I'm not a big fan of this character. He comes across as very annoying. Sam has to go through these trials, and he has to like bathe in the blood of a hellhound. He has to free a soul from hell, which he finds out ends up being Bobby because Crowley took Bobby's soul to hell. And then he has to cure a demon. And in doing this, the demon they are going to cure, because they find out there's a way to cure a demon from being a demon. They see it in an old video for the Metal Letters. The demon they're going to cure ends up being Crowley, after Crowley tries to kill people that Sam and Dean have saved using those books that Chuck wrote. And one of the last people he's about to kill is Sheriff Jody Mills. And they are able to stop him. All the while, Metatron is basically like seducing Castiel into believing that they can lock up the gates of hell or this other spell, and it ends up backfiring. Castiel loses his grace. He becomes like depowered, which he's still depowered as of right now. He's only like always been at like half power over the last several seasons. But Sam nearly dies again, and Dean has to save him. And all the angels end up falling from heaven, and you can just see like the rain of fire from the heavens of all these angels falling. It's not my favorite part of the show. They introduce a new angel named Naomi, who's played by Amanda Tapping, who you might know from Stargate SG-1. It's just not a really well put together season. It really picked it back up again in the next season, which we will get to. It's kind of sad. We also get to see we see the death of Meg. She gets killed off this season. She's been held captive by Crowley. But the new character that they introduced, Abaddon, she sticks around for another season, and I love her look. She's got this like black leather jacket, red hair, red lipstick, red nails, very kick-ass kind of look, and she's again one of the original Knights of Hell. So these are kind of like the archangels in a way, which is really really cool. Some of the music we get in season 8, we get Jethro Tull's Locomotive Breath, we get Styx, Men in the Wilderness, The Animals, We Gotta Get Out of This Place, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band, the Doobie Brothers, China Grove, Supertramp, Goodbye Stranger, and Kansas's Carry On My Wayward Son for the Then and Now segments. As I said earlier, I don't have a lot to say about season 7 and 8. They're not my favorite. I can kind of pick and choose episodes from season 7, like the Men of Letters, the Drunk Ghost episode. Those are really nice. You get the when Baby comes back, you got Born to Be Wild at the end of season 7, crashing through the gates of Dick Roman's building, and it's actually driven by Meg. But again, it's kind of hit or miss. You kind of picky choosy. The next season, the show really ramps back up, so I'll have a definitely more in-depth review for us the next couple seasons of Supernatural. Thanks, guys, for checking out my video, and check out the rest of my Supernatural videos. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you could. And thank you for tuning in to Radio Horror's review of Supernatural Season 7 and 8.